let me get started on a couple things that you should be thinking about when you're thinking about leadership. And some of you are going from teachers to APs, assistant principals, and some of you are going from APs to principal. Here's what I want you to think about right off the bat, and we'll get into the presentation in a minute. I just want to give you some mindset, okay? I want you to think about your scope of impact, okay? So what is a scope of impact? Well, as a teacher, your scope of impact are your students in your classroom, right? And those kids then go out and interact with people. So a lot of what you do in that classroom, you have a pretty big scope of impact as a teacher. You are helping at least 25 kids a year, right? Or more. I know you're way beyond the 25 size classroom, right? But if you're a high school teacher like I was, you might have 80 to 100 students because you switch your classes. So your scope of impact might be even a little bit bigger. As you become an assistant principal, now zoom out. You're not just in your classroom, right? Now your frame of reference is even bigger. You're building wide. So your scope of impact has just become a lot bigger and has included a lot more people. You now are impacting teachers who are impacting students who are then going out and making decisions into the world, okay? So as we are thinking about leadership, I want you to at least think building wide. One of the mistakes that I see teachers do when they're trying to become assistant principals is they think about their classroom because that's the most thing you're most comfortable with, right? And the same thing goes for APs seeking principal positions. You might have been an AP for a long time. And so when you speak about leadership, you are leaning a lot on your AP duties. So if you're trying to amp it up and become a principal, now I need you to be building wide, but at the top of the leadership, tier up here. So you want to tailor your responses to being a principal, to being the leader of the school. And that might have come with an internship. That might have come with a principal who relied on you, perhaps to be the principal when she was out of the building. Maybe you became the principal on duty. I had to do that a few times. Well, I did it once or twice, but I was new to the job. So my principal actually had an assistant principal that he leaned on when he was out of the building. She became the principal of the building. Maybe that's happening with you. So you always want to bump up your scope of impact. So if you're a teacher trying to become an assistant principal, think building wide leadership. Figure out ways that you can talk about how you did things building wide, not in your classroom. And if you're an assistant principal trying to become a principal, you need to focus on what skills are you using and are you implementing to become not the assistant principal. You're trying to become the principal. So find scenarios where you were the end decision maker, that people relied on you as the ultimate authority in a situation, because that's what you're going to have to do as a principal. And if you are a principal trying to become like a superintendent, or an assistant superintendent or a director, now you have to think district wide, not just building wide. Now we need to zoom out. Now your scope of impact is even bigger and you are district wide. Okay. So just the way you need to think about it, you need to bump it up a tier. Classroom, go building. Assistant principal, you're going to go building, but you're going to be thinking about principal actions. And if you're a principal trying to become a superintendent, you're going district wide. Your view is district wide. Keep that in mind. One of the mistakes I made during my assistant principal pool interview is that I relied a lot on teaching because that was my go-to. And somebody luckily caught it right at the beginning when I started my assistant principal interviews and said, hey, you've got a lot of leadership experience. I need you to showcase that as a building administrator, not as a teacher. Because when you get nervous, you rely on what your go-to thing. Okay. So we want to be practicing with this scope of impact increase mentality.